2, 1.
7 things you probably didn't know you need to know. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Smart 7.
Good morning, everybody. It's Friday the 1st of July, and it's International Reggae Day. And a big happy birthday to Missy Elliott, Dan Aykroyd, Pamela Anderson, and Daniel Ricciardo. Thursday saw a major strategic victory for Ukraine in the Black Sea as Russian troops withdrew from Snake Island, an outpost that's been fought over since the beginning of the war. The decision came on the second day of the NATO summit in Madrid, an event that Russian President Vladimir Putin was certainly paying close attention to. He issued a stern warning to Finland and Sweden, who've now been formally invited to join the alliance.
They only must clearly understand that there were no threats to them before. Now, if military contingents and infrastructure are deployed there, we will have to respond in a mirror manner.
In response, NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg pledged support for the two nations and claimed the alliance is prepared for anything.
The most important thing for us is that Finland and Sweden will become members of the alliance. We are there to protect all allies, and of course also Finland and Sweden, and we are prepared for all eventualities.
But one person who's not cross with Putin is former F1 owner and business magnate Bernie Ecclestone, who's found himself in hot water after making some interesting remarks on Good Morning Britain.
Yeah, I'd still take a bullet for him. I'd rather it didn't hurt, but if it did, I'd still take a bullet.
Not surprisingly, the topic of Ukraine dominated the NATO summit, with members outlining their ongoing support in terms of aid and weapons. The UK promised £1 billion worth, including air defence systems and further training. The US weighed in with $800 million more. The summit's also seen the alliance take a more clearly defined posture against Russia, and UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson warned that failure to stop Russian forces could pose a threat to freedom across the world, and he had a clear message about the best way forward.
For us to win the argument around the world about our values, what we stand for, about our opposition to the use of force to change boundaries, about the primacy of international law. The best way to win that argument is for the Ukrainians to win and for Putin to fail in Ukraine.
And US President Joe Biden shared the sentiment, offering his country's unwavering support for Ukraine.
We are going to stick with Ukraine, and all of the alliance are going to stick with Ukraine as long as it takes to, in fact, make sure that they are not defeated.
The NATO pledges on defence spending will have a real impact on the UK's budget, as investments in future air combat capabilities and an increase in general defence spending could see the budget rise by an extra £55 billion by 2030. But Boris Johnson says we need to invest for the long term and adapt to a more dangerous world.
The logical conclusion of the investments on which we propose to embark, of these decisions, is that we will reach 2.5% of GDP on defence by the end of the decade.
The timing of the increase in the budget sparked a row, as Foreign Secretary Liz Truss found herself forced to defend plans to cut the British Army by nearly 10,000 troops. Her argument is that modern warfare requires less troops and more tech, but the Shadow Defence Secretary is not happy. John Heal is calling for a defence spending review by the government, saying with war in Europe, we need to reboot defence plans now.
We in Britain are set to cut over the next 3 years another 10,000 soldiers from the British Army. Now, this is embarrassing. It's not responding to the growing threats we face, and it is putting into question Britain's ability to fulfil our NATO obligations.
In the United States, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson made history as she became the Supreme Court's first black woman justice. It marked the end of a chaotic Supreme Court term, which finished with a landmark ruling where it curbed the ability of America's top environmental regulator, the EPA, to limit greenhouse gas emissions from power plants. Ginger Zee, chief meteorologist at ABC News, says that's a potential disaster.
What the outcome today means, not just for the EPA, but for the world, that this is going to make it way more difficult.
This decision, following the ruling which relaxed gun laws and the overturning of Roe versus Wade, has led Joe Biden to call the court out publicly.
The one thing that has been destabilizing is the outrageous behavior of the Supreme Court of the United States.
And he says it's time to take action.
I believe we have to codify Roe v. Wade in the law, and if the filibuster gets in the way, it's like voting rights. It should be require an exception to the filibuster for this action.
Still to come on the Smart 7, Jason Biggs has some awkward pie-based explaining to do, and Colin Farrell is heading for Thailand. Right after this. Welcome back.
Day 4 of Wimbledon saw good news for British women as Heather Watson and Katie Boulter both progressed to the next round. Rafa Nadal also went through in 4 sets to the third round, beating Lithuania's Rikardis Berankis. Meanwhile, Britain's Jack Draper had a hard-fought game against Alex de Minaur, losing 5-7, 7-6, 6-2, 6-3 to the Australian. And Wimbledon's current bad boy Nick Kyrgios won his match today and, of course, had a few words for the press.
There's a lot of positives. I didn't play anywhere near my best and got through it. And today, obviously, I was kind of in my zone, just great body language, just played well. And, I just wanted to remind everyone that I'm pretty good.
The chickens have well and truly come home to roost for actor and comedian Jason Biggs, who's been making the rounds promoting his game show Cash at Your Door. He was on the Drew Barrymore show earlier this week, where he revealed an awkward conversation with his oldest son about that scene in American Pie.
He's used enough context clues. People have specifically mentioned oh my God, that thing you did. And he's, like, what did you do exactly? And he's starting to ask the questions. Yeah, and I just tell him
Way back in 2018, the world was transfixed by the story of 12 boys and the coach of a Thai soccer team who became trapped in caves after heavy rain. Now, 13 Lives is hitting the big screen, and Ron Howard directs a true-life drama which follows a team of world-class divers as they scour miles of dangerous cave networks to try and save them. It stars Joel Edgerton and Colin Farrell, and it's due to drop on Amazon Prime on August the 5th. No sign of Elon Musk, though.
Last seen 9 days ago, 12 boys and their coach are trapped in the flooded caves.
Hello?
Hey, they're here.
How many of you?
13.
13?
They're all alive.
This has been The Smart 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Have a great day.
Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.